Hey everybody, it's Cameron of Speed Tech Performance, and today I'm sitting here with Matt Mileczarek. Did I say that right?
Better than most people.
Okay. Perfect. I've been studying, so a lot of times we've kind of joked around about it here at the shop. We've heard it been said like 8 different times this week.
Oh, it gets butchered, trust me. It's like 3, 4, 5 different ways from one person. It's Mileczarek or Mileczarek. Either one's fine.
So I was completely off, but close enough.
Oh, it's still good enough.
So you're here today at our headquarters, Speed Tech Performance in St. George, Utah. What brings you here?
I'm extremely excited to pick up a new frame for Quick7T.
A new frame. And you notice how I said extremely. Tell me what's happening.
So it's time to take the truck to the next level. I've had a lot of fun in the truck. Last year was a disappointing year for me, a lot of ups and downs for me. If people that have been following me, they've been seeing that I've had anything from an engine blow up to a mild little crash. I mean, I'm not proud of it, but it happens in racing. Unfortunately, it wasn't my fault, but it does happen. And so I did not get to race at all this year. I've been trying to get the truck together after last year was, again, ups and downs. I finally got it together, went to try to race, and I was going to be real competitive this year. And of course, beginning of the year, I hit a tire wall in Sonoma.
Yeah. And
that pretty much took out all the nice carbon fiber and a lot of stuff. And that's just like, okay, what am I going to do? Plus, it made me, I was sad. I was like, is this the end of the truck? Should I be doing this? So a lot of things went through my head at that time.
It can kind of be let me think the best way to say this on camera. It can mess with your mind. You know?
It sure did. It took me a good month just for me to go back to the garage to take a look at it.
Yeah.
Because 6 months prior, I had a brand new carbon fiber because I got sponsored in a raffle in a winning. And that was my pride and joy. I was like, oh yes, finally. And the truck was just starting to get working. I was finally starting to figure some things out. And that happened. Yeah. So again, it took me like a month to get over that. And then another month of me just sitting in the garage staring at it before I can even mention anything to social media. I mean, I went dead silent. I just nope, I wasn't going to say anything. I was embarrassed, and I was like, I have nothing to be embarrassed about. I finally got over it and I said, look, that's racing. You have to accept it. It's part of the deal. You have to be accepting that something's going to happen because we're pushing the cars and a truck, for that matter, to do something it's not supposed to do.
And that's something to hit on you're driving a truck, something that was designed to be on a farm, something that was designed to put hay bales in it or take lumber to the construction yard. And now you're out here on a racetrack with it.
Correct. I mean, it's a 1970s, so I mean, it still has, had original frame on it. So it is an original 1970 frame, short bed. I've done a lot of small modifications myself, bit pieces over the years since I've had it. So I don't want to say it was a hack job because I took this piece and I thought that was the best made, so I put that on it. Then I tried this piece and that'll work. I think that'll complement that. So there was a lot of trial and errors ever since I got the truck. And it's been through, 1, 2, 3, this is either the 4th or 5th rendition now that I'm building the truck since I've had it.
Okay. How long have you had the truck?
I bought the truck 2007 off of eBay.
Okay.
Of all places.
So that scares me because I bought, when I was 17, I bought a 67 Camaro off eBay, saved up all my money at the time, $9,800. The car never showed up. The money ended up in Poland. FBI was involved. It's this crazy story.
Wow.
So I'm glad it worked out well for you.
Well, I kind of knew what I was buying because I was bidding on, this is before the 67, 72s really just skyrocketed. Everyone really got paid attention. They were kind of getting noticed. I was like, I always liked the body style.
Yeah.
I was honestly looking for a truck that I can use for work.
Yeah.
At the time, I had an entertainment company, so I was lugging speakers and doing installs and doing all that kind of stuff for nightclubs and stuff like that. So I just wanted something for work. I had another daily driver. And I found it on eBay. No one was bidding on it. It was multiple different colors. It had, description was all original, but yet it had multiple different colors of panels on it. Yeah. 350, turbo 350 trans, 3-speed, original 12 bolts, stock height on Kragers.
Nice.
I'm like, all right. So I placed a bid on it, and sure enough, no one bid on it, and I won it. And I was like,
Oh shoot, this is real.
This is real.
This just happened.
And it was local. I was in LA at the time, and it was in Redding, Northern California.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, wow, okay, well, I guess I just want a truck. All right. Never test drove it, never did anything. So, I mean, I was trusting that it was going to be decent enough. And the guy said, yeah, you can drive it all the way back. I'm like, okay.
We'll try.
Yeah, exactly. So I flew up 2 days later, and I saw the truck in person. It wasn't as nice as the pictures always, making it look so much better. It was a lot
Even though
rougher.
You already knew it was multicolored.
I already knew it was multicolored, but there was some rust, and the engine looked. He said it came out of a Camaro from 1972, I think it was, but it sounded like it had 1 million miles. It was straight piped, so it was obnoxiously loud. Gas tank was still inside the cab, so it smelled like gas.
Yep.
Oof! But I drove that truck from Redding 7 hours all the way back home to LA. I had to stop 20 times for gas because the gas gauge didn't work. It only held 10 gallons of gas.
You probably got 8 miles per gallon.
I don't even think I got that because it literally died on me a couple of times. Like, oh my God, I had to fill it so many times. It was hilarious.
Yeah.
But it made it home. And as soon as it got there, the alternator failed, the power steering failed, and it leaked. I was like, all right, well, I knew I was buying a project.
Time to start.
Time to start.
It told you it was ready. So you started at that point. What did you build it to? Just your daily driver, or did you already catch the bug? No, I want to build something performance.
I was always looking in catalogs, so I wanted something that was not horrible, but I wasn't looking for a show queen.
Yeah.
Because I was going to use it. I planned to use it, and I was putzing around town with it. I was like, God, this is so much fun. And it started bugging me. Okay, I started going into the catalogs of LMC. I'm going to buy this piece, and I'm going to buy a new battery box, and just started little bits and $100 here, $500 here. $20 here over the past 6 months, and just got it a little more reliable. It's like, you know what? I think I can do this. And then all of a sudden, a friend of a friend's son was at my house at the time, and he goes, "Is that your truck?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Can I paint it?" I'm like, "Huh?
Like what?
What are you talking about? Can I
Put
paint
away your
it?"
spray paint.
Yeah, and I didn't realize he was in high school.
Yeah.
He was in a shop class. So his project was to paint a car for his final project. I'm like, oh, okay. And he explained it to me. I said, well, I'm thinking back in my mind, you can't hurt it any more than what it is.
It's already 16 different colors.
By all means,
Yeah.
go for it. So he goes, what color? I said, surprise me. So the color of my truck.
You're a brave man.
I was going to be happy I was getting one color. I couldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have been mad if it was pink, but I don't think the kid was going to paint it pink. He was trying to pass a final or something like that. So I said, by all means, choose a color. And to this day, that is still the same paint job that kid painted back in 2008.
No way.
Single stage paint.
Really?
Yeah.
And he chose that nice kind of burnt orange copper.
He custom made a color that was a GM factory color back then that came on the Corvettes and stuff.
Yeah.
It was more of a brighter orange, and he dulled it down, added more brown or something to it. I don't have the paint code. I wish I do because I can't match it now, which
kind of sucks.
It does because I would like to repaint it. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to fight because it's a metallic. I don't think I'm ever going to match it. But yeah, the kid painted it. I got it back. I'm like, whoa, wow.
Like,
I was shocked. I was
what just
literally
happened?
blown away.
Yeah.
He did the inside, and it looked good for a 16, 17-year-old kid. And I was like,
that's cool.
You know what? It was starting to get nice. I'm like, oh, I can't use this for a work
You're
truck
like,
now.
oh.
I'm like,
You're like, what?
damn. I was like, okay, that kind of blew what I was going to use the truck for. So that's where things kind of progressed to the next level. It's like, okay, maybe I can drive this to shows, and let me see if I can spruce this up a little bit more.
Yeah.
And that's where kind of everything just literally snowballed and started going left instead of going right.
And that was when? About 2000?
That was 2008.
8?
Mhm.
Okay.
2008 had the paint job. It still had the Kragers, the solid Kragers, and
Yeah.
it still had the same stock suspension on it. So then I bought a lowering kit, springs and shocks from CPP, I think it was. I bought their trailing arms, did it all inside the garage, and lowered it. I'm like, oh, this is getting better.
You're like, hey.
And then it had a bench seat in it, and then I got a 2007, 6 Tahoe seats in the front that had the two captain chairs and the fold down middle.
Yeah.
Tossed that in there. I'm like, okay, this is going somewhere.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it didn't quite look the same, but
still running on the 350?
still running the 350 and 3-speed. I mean, it was loud, it was horrible, but I didn't have any ideas of how to do what's the next step is. And LS at that time were just starting to kind of pop around. They're starting to be here, but there was no computers like, oh, this is out of my price range. So I left the 350 and I drove it just like that for about a year.
Okay.
And then I had the chance to leave LA and move up to where I live now in San Jose.
Yeah.
So I packed up and brought everything over there, and the truck sat for about another year. Didn't do anything with it. Started doing research in catalogs. I'm like, you know what? I really wanted to start driving this. It's sitting under a carport doing nothing.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I want a lowrider. I want air ride. I want to do that. So I found a local mechanic that was living real close to me, and he had all these lowriders and 4x4s, and I brought it to him. Hey, can you do at the time with the Ridetech air suspension? I said, I'll buy the kit. Can you just install it for me? Because I didn't have a garage at the time. He goes, sure. So that snowballed. A simple installation got caught up for 3 years in this one mechanic's shop.
Crap.
Just for an air ride. So I mean, I was like,
Wow.
He goes, you know what? Since we're already here, we can powder coat your frame. I'm like, sure, why not?
Yeah.
And we can do this. Sure, okay, why not?
Yeah.
And then it sat there, and then he went out of business.
Oh.
And the truck was apart. I'm like, oh no. So that came back to me. Then I found another good friend, and we took it to my garage, and we actually put it back together to get it driving.
Yeah.
Just wasn't the same. The 350 just wasn't there. The guts, it was starting to smoke. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? So that's when I decided, next level. Let's replace the engine, transmission. I was following Hot Rod magazine. They were doing some engine swaps, going to the junkyard, buy a junkyard LS from a truck, toss it into the truck, plug and play, easy 500 horsepower.
Yeah.
I want that.
Let's do it.
So that's what I did. I followed a Hot Rod magazine engine swap from a junkyard. To a T, exactly what they said is exactly what I bought.
Okay. Like with the 5.3?
No, with the 6.0.
The 6.0?
6.0 iron block.
Yeah.
So I bought exactly what they did, and I tried to do it myself.
Yeah.
It kind of worked. I mean, I got it to start. I tried, and I got it to run. It drove. It just, I could not get it to tune right. It just was spitting and all kinds, and it had an automatic. Finally gave it to a friend of a friend that had a buddy. He goes, I'll tune it up for you. You just need a tune up. I said, cool. Wires were hanging. It wasn't pretty inside the engine bay, but it looked fine. It was lowered. Still had the Kragers on it. Okay, this is cool. And then I drove that for another year and a half, 2 years. I was like, this is cool.
Yeah.
And then I ended up getting 20-inch rally rims for it.
Okay.
And then I had that for a good 3 years. I took it to Good Guys. And then that's where things literally went hard left.
Yeah.
When I went to a Good Guys 2014, I think it was, 15, 14. Truck was running good. And I was looking for parking because I didn't know how to park. And when I did this first time going to it, and I didn't realize there was a place off to the side in Pleasanton that you park. And that's where they did autocross.
Yeah.
And then you have all the grass and everything else is where you park. So I park in this parking lot thinking that's just for a car. And the guy comes up and he goes, here, I need you to sign this waiver and I need you to tech. I'm like, I just want to park and show my car. No, you're into autocross. I'm like, what's autocross?
You're like, hold on. I'm in the what cross?
I had no idea what autocross really was. I've
Yeah.
heard of it. I just never saw it or knew what it was. He goes, yeah, you get to run in that track over there. Just sign the waiver and we'll check your car and make sure everything's fine and you can go run it. I'm like, this is before you need helmets. You didn't need any of that stuff at the time.
Shoot.
Just before the helmet. So like, all right, sure, I did it. So I did it. Went on the track. It performed horribly. It was leaning.
Yeah.
It had 20-inch rims. It had 500 treadwear tires. So I mean, it was peeling out and sliding. But I had a blast. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is
You're
fun.
like-
I'm like, what can I do to make this better?
You're like, I parked in the right spot.
Yeah, so a mistake ended up maybe a mistake for me because then that's where the money started flowing. I was like, I need to do this. And then people were saying, you should do this. And I was doing more research. I'm like, let me try this. So over the next year, I just started throwing little bits and performance pieces that I could. And things for the trucks now were starting to pop up. And I was following people like Rob Phillips and Brandy Phillips, the C10R, and some of those. Rob from No Limit, from Hellboy. I was like, oh, I want my truck to kind of look like this. I want it to perform like this. And that's when I started performing plans in my head. I'm like, how can I get there? And that's kind of where things just literally snowballed. I ditched the air ride, tossed it out. I hit up Scott's Hot Rod at the time. They gave me a great deal. So yeah, we love your truck. We'd like you to represent some of our stuff.
Yeah.
That's when they were coming up with some of their truck stuff. So I put on their front cross member, some cheapy coilovers. I had Rob No Limit, some of his stuff back there, bit piece with some of mine, and put it together.
Yeah.
And it worked. I got new rims and tires. Literally a month later, I took back to the autocross after I had some of that. Well, it took me 6 months to get all that done.
Yeah.
Then I went back to the autocross and won. I was like, no way.
Like, wait a second.
And it literally just bit me. I was like, oh, this is too much fun. And I just kept on going.
When that happened, did they have the truck class at that point?
Yes.
Okay, because
They
I
had the
know
truck class.
when we built our C10 with the first, the one we did with our R&D, we went to Good Guys and we would win, but it was before they had a truck class. So we showed up with a truck and we're winning, and people were like, what's going on?
Yeah, I think 2015 is when they had the truck class, and that's when I finished everything in those parts in 2014, and then 2015, I'm almost positive, is when I did my first one with all the new parts and pieces and ended up winning.
Yeah, that's super cool. So, do you have any kind of motorsport background at all? Did you race dirt bikes growing up or anything?
No, I used to have RC cars. Does that count?
Okay. That's way more hard. Holy crap!
I didn't race them, but I had them.
At muscle car at the strip with the guys from Camaro family.
Okay.
They had a little track set up. That's freaking hard.
It's hard to going 20 feet, 30 feet out there and trying to know which way you're supposed to go. I mean,
because then all of a sudden it turns back to you.
Yeah,
and
then
now
you're going
left
backwards.
is right and right is left, and you're backwards. So, hey, more power to you.
Yeah, I mean, as for racing, no. The only other racing I did, I mean, shouldn't admit this, but I did some street racing and drag racing, dummy as a kid, and
For sure.
did that a little bit here and there. But as for actual racing, no. This was my first true racing experience.
So you got the bug. You were going to Good Guys. You won an event, and then what happened from there? Because now you've literally traveled the country. The first time I saw you in 2019, I think, in Good Guys.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, that's a nice truck. I always liked the burnt orange color. I had a Hummer that was burnt orange, that GM color.
The
like you
GM
were
color,
talking.
yeah.
I had a Hummer that was that color.
Okay.
So your truck automatically caught my eye. And anyways, and so I paid attention there, but then I really heard about you. And this kind of goes back to what we've always talked about is the family behind what we do here is when Nick hopped in with you clear back in Kentucky, I think it was, or Texas, and rode all the way back.
It was actually Tennessee, yeah.
Somewhere back there.
It was Tennessee, yeah.
And I was like, oh, so who's this guy? And that's when I really started paying attention to your story and and everything. So what took you out to Tennessee? Because you go from California, running a few events 6-7 years ago, to now on the other side of the country.
So Tennessee, I decided to get my feet wet and dive into the Optima series. Okay. And I wanted to get my hand on a full road course and stuff. And just prior to that, my first one was 2019. Was it 2018 or 2019? They did a Big Willow. And that was my very first one. And I had just bought a brand new cambered rear end to put into the truck. And I was like, I want to try that out. And that's when the setup where it is now is when I finished that setup. So I wanted to try it then. That was my first Optima, first road course, period.
Yeah.
Never did a road course.
Big Willow? Or
Big Willow.
Yeah.
No,
Big Willow's like
Big Willow.
No joke.
I was literally scared. I mean, I was sweating, not to mention it was 102 degrees that day.
Yeah.
I was like, I literally finished the truck that night. Didn't even test it, threw it on the truck on the trailer, and we drove. My testing team was on the track. So I don't know if the bolter, literally, it was a brand new rear end, everything. I have no clue if this was going to work. And we'll fast forward a little bit from there. That seems to be my MO. Never gets tested. It gets tested on the track that next day. I need to stop that because that's not good. But okay.
So you're at Willow testing.
Yep.
What happened?
So again, newbie. I wasn't used to the format, but got on that track and I was scared. I mean, just shaking, sweating. I mean, you could smell me a mile away. I was sweating so scared. But once I got out there, everything just calmed. I was like, oh, this feels good. And the truck felt good. Yeah. So I decided to get a little more brave, and I started pushing it. And next thing you know, I'm going down that straightaway. I'm doing a $145. I'm like, and I couldn't get past. All of a sudden, it just felt like I hit a wall. It's just the engine had nowhere. It was an iron block, 6-speed. So I was pushing the hell out of that thing. It was ringing it out, but it felt good. And I was like, okay, I can't believe the truck is doing this. Yeah. And I was hanging with Corvettes and stuff. I was like, just get out of here. And I'm starting to laugh now. I'm like, yes. I had a GoPro at that time. You can hear me laughing, like, yes, just giggling all the way down. Yeah. But I should have been paying attention. But luckily, I made it through. The truck did not break. It handled it. It drove on the trailer. There was no leaks. Never overheated. And I finished 8th in the GTV class that year.
Not even the GT.
There wasn't a truck class.
That's a pretty new. The truck class.
The
is
truck
pretty
class.
new
This is
with
the second
Optima.
year
Yeah.
for the truck class, and I had to go back. I'm like, wait, what did I place? I placed 8th out of 15 cars that were in the GT class at that time.
Heck yeah.
And Nick was above me by 2
Yeah.
at that time. I was like, and I didn't know who Nick was. I didn't know anyone in the series. The only person I knew was David Carroll at the time, and one other person, Pat Shelia, had another truck there.
Yeah.
And he kind of said hi and
Did
hi.
he have his Apache there?
His Apache was
Yeah.
there, yes. I was like, oh, that's a beautiful.
Yeah.
And I came a bit up ahead of him. I'm like, I was blown away that this truck can do it. And that's when it just really like, okay, I'm going out. I'm going to try to go as much as I can with the truck. I did a lot more good guys that year. I didn't do any more Optima because it was already filled up. I couldn't do anymore. So I planned for 2020. I was going to go balls out. And then obviously 2020 hit.
Yeah.
Nothing can happen. And then started just cleaning up the truck and hoping for 2021. And that's when 21 came and said, okay, I'm going to do as many Optimas as I can. I'm going to go. That's when they announced the truck class. I'm like,
Perfect.
dude, perfect. I'm going to be, I'm ready for this.
Yeah.
I'm ready. So I thought. And that's when I just had, okay, I'm going to replace the engine. I'm going to go LS3. I'm going to, make it lighter. I'm going to put triple adjustable shocks on it and just really tune it up. And I did all that. And that's when I just had massive problems with an engine builder, engine blowing up at a pro touring truck shootout, catching on fire. That was on the Instagram. Everyone's like, what happened? And that's a whole nother, that's another story. But
yeah.
And then I just had a couple slews of bad luck with just the engine. I just couldn't get this engine to work. And luckily, a buddy of mine, Marcus Fry, his dad, Dino Fry, he is an original old engine builder. No computers, no CNC. Literally, he does everything by hand.
Wow.
All hand machine. He says, I'll build you one so you can get ready for the next race. And he did. And that's what I have in the car right now. He saved me. Engine block, it's a 418, stroked 418 on it. And it runs great. It runs great.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Right now, it's just under 685 horsepower on it, which is not bad.
What does your truck weigh right now? Because the last time you probably weighed it was with carbon fiber?
So the carbon fiber, as it had sat, weighed 3,500 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. With me in it, 3620.
Yeah.
3650, give or take. But yeah, it was 3,500 pounds. Wow. And the weight balance was 5149, I think it was.
Wow.
It was almost 50-50.
Yeah.
It was pretty close. I was very stoked on that.
Yeah. And
shocked too.
So you're over 600 horsepower. You've got a T56 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And you're running around the country. So you find yourself Optima out in Tennessee.
And I got hit again with low oil pressure, and it kept on going lower and lower and lower. And I talked to Dino. He goes, "Stop."
Yeah.
So I had to end the race, and that's when Nick was helping me out, and we were talking just as a friend. And he goes, "Hey, hop in with me," and that ended up being a running joke. So I would hop in with him for all the road races.
Yeah.
And then in Utah, same thing. My engine oil pressure again.
Oh man.
So Nick goes, and Nick ended up getting the best times every time I came back.
You were his ballast?
I was his ballast, apparently. He kept on getting faster and faster. So he goes, "Hey, we're not ruining the streak. Get in the car."
Yeah.
And so we would do that again in Utah. And I think we did it in Vegas also. So we kept on doing it because my truck kept on I could never finish an Optima.
Yeah.
So I gained enough points that year to be invited to Vegas, which I finally podiumed in Vegas in 3rd place.
Yeah.
In 2021.
Yeah.
So that's like, my whole goal was I want to make Vegas. I want a podium. I don't need to win. I just want to finally podium to prove that I can hang with these people with the truck how it was. And it did, which blew me away. I didn't think I did.
Which that's the first time I met you in person.
Correct.
Was in Vegas.
Nick introduced us.
And again, it's one of these things that we always talk about here. And like I mentioned before, the family aspect, the whole element is, you came by our semi and we had 50 people probably just hanging out with us, you know, and when Nick said, "Hey, this is the guy you want to talk to," and we respect Nick's opinion enough that when Nick says, "Hey, talk to this guy," we talk to this guy,
Right.
And so that's really where we've all kind of started talking and
Correct.
looking at each other. And so now we're at the phase that you're at of another rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking at ExtReme chassis, not looking at, you're here to pick it up today.
It's sitting outside right now.
So not only ExtReme though, you're going ExtReme IRS.
Yes.
So what's your hopes, your dreams, what's this build? What's going to happen with this build now?
So beginning this year, when I wrecked the truck, when I hit the tire wall, I was devastated, like I said. But when I finally got over it, I said, you know what? It's part of racing. And I said, I'm going to rebuild it. And I was starting to rebuild the truck as it was. And I said, why? Why am I doing this? I want to take it and build the ultimate dream truck that I think will compete at a very extreme, high level, and be competitive, because the truck class is getting super competitive now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that are building trucks. There are a lot of competent builders out there. There's a lot of different choices out there. In my mind, there's literally probably 2, 3 that are even considered, I would even consider going road racing with. There's a ton of cruising applications. There's a ton of really good kits that you can make a truck very reliable and cruising. But when it comes down to doing it all and making it handle like a Corvette, Ferrari, whatever you want to compare it to, there's only literally probably 2, 3 people that I would even consider in my mind. And I considered all of them. I looked through all of them, and I keep coming back to you guys. And I was like, I loved how it looked. I loved how it built. Talking with you guys, talking to Nick, driving in the car is like, this just feels substantial. That's probably the best word I can say. It just, and mind you, I never driven in a truck one because I honestly could not find anyone that had
there's not a
truck.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So it gave me an idea. I was like, you know what? I really like their stuff, and I loved how the IRS put together. I was just like, I think this is my best. It just felt right to me. So that's when I really started talking to Nick and asking questions about your guys' stuff, talking to Nefren, talking to a lot of the other Camaro and Nova guys, the good guys. I was like, I really like this. Yeah. And then what really, tell you what really sealed the deal for me is how everyone was intertwined. Everyone was like, yeah, talk to him about them. Oh, he's willing to give you a ride. Oh, Speed Tech, they'll help you with this. And they're very open about how this works, and they'll teach you some of this stuff, and they'll help you along with your build. I was like, okay, that's what I want. I don't want to be put it together and just be left alone, because I can put things together. I'm no mechanic by any means. I'm handy, but I'm no mechanic. I'll figure things out. And I build a lot of stuff in my garage as well, but I will farm things out to people that look, I don't trust myself with it. Can you please do it? And then I'll finish the rest. I know when to say no. I don't want to go there. But this time around, I decided I want to build the ultimate truck and really go compete in Optima. And I want that podium finish. I want the #1 class.
Yeah.
So I decided I have a goal. I want to see if I can get to that goal. And that's when I designed the truck and really approached you guys with it and see what we can do and what we can build.
And I'll say this, guys, he showed me the design and the rendering, and for me being a designer, I was just like, oh, okay. It's there's some things here that we're not going to talk about yet, but holy crap. You thought the truck was cool before, like it's going to blow some minds. Not only the way that it looks, but the way that it performs. Yes. All the enhancements you're making, front to back, bumper to bumper, top to bottom.
It is a ground up, complete nut and bolt build. I mean, there's nothing with exception of the cab and the bed that's getting transferred over. That's all I'm kind of going to say. I'll tease a couple of other things, but that's about it. It's literally going to be a nut and bolt, complete ground up.
And the color.
And the color's going to stay the same. I'm going to try. I'm hoping I can get it repainted the same color, at least very, very close. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, this is something that I just want you to know that as a company, we are so dang excited about, because we've got some pretty heavy contenders in the truck class. We've got like Honda with his Blazer, and then we've got people outside of Speed Tech. Like you said, the truck class it's heavy. Starting to
get fierce, and they're getting super competitive right now.
They're getting now that where the trucks are beating a lot of cars.
Yes.
And so to have you added to our team is something that here, Tom and I have spent multiple conversations of, this is exciting. And so I hope that we're really excited to have you part of our team, part of our family, part of the group of motorheads, you know, and that's really what it comes down to is we're all car guys when it comes down to it. And we're getting to live a dream, honestly. Like, it's a cliche saying, you know, how you doing today? I'll just live in the dream.
Correct.
But we are, you know, you got to go out to a racetrack for work. You got to go out to a racetrack for fun.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a bad life to live.
It's not. I mean, it's always been somewhat in my blood with my family. They've always had hot rods. They've all built cars. So I guess it's kind of gotten past time, but I've always loved cars, and being able to do this with a team and the expertise of you guys. And again, I'm honored that you guys even chose and allowed me to be part of your team, which to me just is amazing. But in order to try to achieve this next goal for next year with the truck class, with your guys' equipment is, for me, it's mind blowing. It is a dream come true for me that I'm going to actually be able to accomplish it. It's almost right there for me to grab. I mean, I just need to finish it now.
You're in the final runs of the next build. So
yeah.
So before I forget, I want you to tell all of our followers where they can follow you, keep up with the build progress, and see some sneak peeks as they get released, and you know, all the fun stuff.
So you can find me on Instagram and Facebook. It's Quick7T, and that's spelled Quick, the number 7 and the letter T. Quick7T.
Perfect. So again, it's Matt. I'm going to butcher his last name again, like everyone else does. That's okay.
Go for it.
I have a weird last name too. But anyways, Matt Mileczarek, we're super excited to have you part of this team. And from here, you know, next year, where's your plan? So you're going to get the truck built.
Yes.
And then you're going to hit the road.
Correct. So I am going to attempt, and I think I can get it done by LS Fest. That is my goal, to have LS Fest and the truck completed. It may not be painted. I'm just going to put that out there because I don't know if it's going to get painted, but it will be done and driving and running by that time, for sure. I have a lot of the parts. There's a lot of experimental stuff that I am doing that I am trying to work through right now. But I think I have those things figured out. And now some things are just part demand. I can't get parts because I just can't get parts. That's everyone in the world right now.
Unfortunately.
Especially computer parts and chips and some radiators and stuff. But other than that, I think I can get it done.
Perfect. Well, we're super excited for next year. Like I said, and y'all need to give him a follow because he's got some big things coming. If the build is even half as cool as what you showed me the design is, it's going to be out of this world. So I think we should probably cut to the most important part, and that's getting those parts in your truck.
Absolutely. I'm excited. Let's get that thing in the trailer.
Heck yeah, man. Let's do it.
Excellent.